okay, so she's really not a brick. Let's actually give her a chance. And then we'll bring you in.
So you've interviewed bricks. Have you seen like bricks?
I remember I once called you after an interview. I'm not going to tell you who.
Well, welcome back to my channel. It's Siwo and welcome to another episode of Lessons for Life, where we talk about things they should have taught you in school but they actually really didn't. In the past episodes we had what to look out for when you're buying a car. Second episode we had building your credit score, and in the third one we looked at budgeting, and in this one we're going to be talking about writing your CV. And as you can see, we have a guest speaker because I'm still learning how to perfect mine. Please welcome LiQWYD. Hi, welcome to Sibo's Story. Introduce yourself, who you are, what you do, and how I know you.
Okay, I'm LiQWYD. I am a teacher, coach, life coach, everything coach. And I've known you since birth because you're my younger sister.
Yes, oh my God, it's my brother. Yeah, don't we look alike? People say we look alike.
We don't
We
look
don't
alike.
look
No, we don't.
Anyway, so as you heard, today we're going to be talking about writing your CV. So, basics. What is a CV?
A CV is a resume. It's a summary of who you are, what you can do for that particular institution that you want to work for, right? And what you're hoping to gain. That's it.
Basically, that's it. Okay. So then, what do you put in your CV? Like, what are the main things that you have to highlight when you put in your CV?
Look, I think just beyond the basics about who you are, etc. I think the experiences that you come with overall. A lot of the time, CVs also ask for things like your actual skills, that especially these modern CVs, so your actual skills. Right now, for example, you have a YouTube channel and you've had a YouTube channel running. And that's great. So let's say you're going to want to join an occupational therapy company or company that does other things or medical things, and if you put this in your CV or this is part of your CV and you say, look, I've got this and I've got this YouTube channel running and this is what it actually talks about, that could be something of interest to them because it could have been something that they did not explore or that they didn't think of. So these modern CVs also ask for that, your qualities as an individual. So sometimes when you say that you are a patient individual, sometimes when you say that you are an organized individual, helps in including, because those are little things that distinguish, between taking Sibulelo and taking Mepon. But sometimes you get to then, I think that distinction is very important, especially if you want to employ a particular person who's got a particular high performance. So that's mainly it. I think also on the overall, one of the things that's very important, besides I think the experience, the way you've worked and the education that you have, is that your CV kind of needs to show what your experience sort of talks to. So some people's CVs are quite bland, so you just have a 9 to 5 and that's it. Or you just schooled and that's it. I mean, you've got a lot of unemployed graduates, but what distinguishes, why is it that you've got graduate A who's able to get an opportunity at a particular workspace or workplace, and graduate B who still struggling even after 3-4 years? And that's again because of the types of skills that you did not have. For example, you did debating in high school, you did public speaking, you've got national and provincial colors in public speaking. That counts for something. Those are not hobbies, those are skills. And is there a difference between you and the next occupational therapist? Absolutely. And is that something that employers look for? Absolutely. Because you want someone beyond the kind of, because sometimes you don't want the work to be you. I mean, it's different sorts of different folks, but I think the modern employer looks for those types of people. And then lastly, if you are an individual of a particular type, one of the great things that they are looking for, especially these days, is EQ, emotional quotients or emotional intelligence, and how well you're able to do a simple thing like reading the room. You understand? I mean, we're about to get into Ramadan right now, and if you have a Muslim lady on your panel, or Muslim man in your panel, the type of time it is, given that you are interviewed by those people, changes. So, and again, that's what your CV needs to talk, to talk about and to talk to. So those are the things that they kind of look at.
Okay. Yeah. We've touched on a lot.
Yeah, sorry, yeah.
No, it's okay. So now we've looked at what you put in your CV. Now we're gonna ask, what don't you put into your CV?
Shoot, I mean, like again, it's different stuff for different folks. I always go and I always tell people, the first go at your CV, you put in everything. Okay, but it's different CVs for different platforms, and people don't want to be bored by a lot of what you've done at a particular IT company if you're not going to be applying for an IT job or anything like that. And that's the stepping stone to the interview, right? Hence the cover letter. So the cover letter sort of covers that. So if you say, for example, but I've also done 1, 2, 3, that aren't in my CV, that's okay to put that in the cover letter, because then your cover letter plus the CV in the interview will be like, okay, so they'll talk on your behalf and then they'll expand, when they ask questions for you to be able to respond those, to those particular questions that they'll be asking you. So again, like it depends. So I mean, other people say you don't have to put hobbies in your CV. Other people, you would put hobbies in your CV. Again, it's about reading the situation, and I think reading to whom you're actually sending that CV. If you're going to be sending your CV, for example, to a school, so let's say you apply for a physiotherapist position at a school. It's not a teaching post, but it's a physiotherapy position, right? Do you put hobbies in that CV? By all means, because look, I mean, if your hobbies are tennis and gardening, right? It could spark some sort of interest, in whoever is actually going to be interviewing you. Because again, as an occupational or physiotherapist or whatever, having that kind of hobby would say a lot about you. So yes, it's fine. I mean, it's a pastime of some sort, and that's okay. Some jobs don't really care. And I think again, they really don't care. They really don't care. They just want you to come on and then just talk about whatever it is that you're going to be doing. That is why you need to tailor make your CV for every. And that's why I've always been frustrated with. Have you noticed that you've got these people who would they would type their CVs at an internet cafe or wherever, and they'd photocopy their CVs. Multifold. You've got about 20, 30, 40 copies, right? And I'm just sending out my CV. While that's okay, it's odd, especially if you are a particular type, or if you're a specialist of some sort in a field. No, the way you prepare a CV for Microsoft is not going to be the way you prepare a CV for Dimension Data. And again, like it's a huge distinction. You need to, again, sometimes if you know the kind of person that you're sending that particular CV to, then
So tailor making a CV for a particular kind of job is very, very important. Yeah. Because so for instance, me, I'm an occupational therapist, and I'm not applying for a job that's necessarily in the hospital, like space. Yeah. I'm applying for them one in, I don't know, I'm looking to expand into tutoring or like teaching. Okay. They're not going to be interested in the fact that I know how to do pressure garments and splinting, so I leave that out in my CV, the one that I would send to hospital.
No, look, you don't leave that out. I mean, that's okay. It's okay that you're able to do that. I mean, that's part of what you do, and that's part of what you would do. But what's extra that you would put in for a school type of CV? So something like this, something like your YouTube channel, you would definitely put in that this is part of my interest. Why? Because of the digital age that we're in, and the digital age that most schools, particularly independent schools, are trying to move into and are wanting to move into. Something like this, for example, would also be quite ideal for them to go, okay, but I mean, it would be great for our occupational therapists to have a YouTube channel that our parents would access even beyond just classroom. So again, that's what I'm saying, like, depending on what it is that you include, it's always great for them to see, because I mean, look, I see it's not just bland, it really isn't just bland, and that's why sometimes you read these boring CVs and you kind of go, look, it's fine, I'll call the person in, and I've done that. You call the person, you kind of go, yeah, no, I kind of knew what this interview's gonna go like. I've sent pink CVs, and I've sent CVs with and without pictures. I've sent CVs with and without borders. So it really does depend. Yeah.
You mentioned pictures. Someone once told me that they don't put pictures on their CVs because they don't want to be discriminated against before given the opportunity to be interviewed. What's your take on that?
Wow, but what's that discrimination on?
What I look like if I'm a black woman and...
But it says female. It says, if your surname is Mohanwe and you say female or your ID number tells me that you're female, with or without that picture makes no difference.
Okay, so the picture doesn't make a difference at all.
Look, like I said, if that person says, look, I do not include my pictures in my CV, there needs to be a reason, and there needs to be like a proper plausible reason. I need to have, that's not a good reason. There needs to, because already then I'm gonna know your gender. And something's gonna give it away. It's gonna give it away. It's weird. Unless a person does not include their picture and keeps sending their CVs to the same place, and you know that place does not like people's pictures on CVs. That's weird. Because I don't know. I don't see a reason not to. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
When employers or the HR are looking through CVs and stuff like that, what's the key thing that'll make your CV stand out for them to want to shortlist you?
Two things. Okay, so the shortlisting starts with two things. The minimum requirements, that they ask for, always key. It's always the minimum requirements. But secondly, it's the experience that comes with those minimum requirements. Okay, but sometimes then it's so if your cover letter then sort of elevates that particular pitch. So if you don't meet the minimum requirements, but a cover letter sort of supports that, then that's fine. Especially if they do ask for a cover letter. You ask. I know that you say that you would like to have to have a person with 5 years experience. I only have 3.5 years experience in this particular position. However, I have been working for a total of 8 years. I worked under a manager who has got these skills, and I learned over time to do the following. I would appreciate that post. That's something that you could include. You see, so I guess the next overriding question would be then, would you then still apply if you don't meet the minimum requirements? Of course, by all means. I think studies have also shown, particularly in the US and Australia, that 65% of the of men apply for positions that they can, the minute they see that you're meeting 50 or 55% of the requirements, they apply regardless. You see, so there are certain things, so certain things like age limits, and so if it wants an MBA or a master's degree, and you just have a bachelor's, but you just have a bachelor's with like 15 years experience, right, and results, then your cover letter it elevates that, because then what's what you're going to do with the with the bachelor's and the master's, and then no experience whatsoever. And a lot of students are doing that these days. You've got your honors and you've got your masters, and you've got no experience of having done anything, and all you've done is academia. Unless you actually want to end up in lab benefits, it's fine.
So you mentioned the cover letter. I feel I'm one of the people that are like confused or like don't know what to put in a cover letter. Is your cover letter kind of like an extension of your CV, or what is the purpose of the cover letter?
3 things. Why are you applying for this job? How you correlate your CV to the job that you're applying for. And have you noticed that sometimes in your CV you'd have things that, like, do I really include this now? And it's really important, right? And hence why I said to you earlier on that your first initial CV must be everything. And then you take from it, so that in your cover letter for a particular post, then you're able to motivate a lot of that stuff, right? So, look, I know you've got a dancing certificate, and I know you also have I think it's not first aid or something like that, So then you would say, for example, given that your school has got, or given that your company has got a very, beautiful and avid dance culture, right? It's also worth noting that I do have blah 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 blah, right? Which again, as an occupational therapist, was motivated by my passion of da 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 da. You see, so you want to bring in that creative element there. Then that's where they see that, oh man, okay, so she's really not a brick. Let's actually give her a chance, and then we'll bring you in.
So you've interviewed bricks. Have you seen like bricks?
I remember I once called you after interview. I'm not going to tell you who. Yeah. And I was like, yo.
That was a brick. Okay, so you've elaborated on the 3 things that you can put on a cover letter, but what specifically, say for me, me, what am I putting on my cover letter? What goes into my cover letter? I'm applying for a post in a life rehab center where we work with patients with strokes and spinal cord injuries, traumatic brain injuries.
Okay.
What am I putting?
Lovely. Okay. 2 member concern, right? Or yeah, you got right. The manager, the center manager, self-contained hospital, whatever, right? Okay. This letter is written in response to the advertised post, number whatever post, blah 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 blah, right? That seeks to employ a or an occupational therapist in rehab or whatever. Okay. My name is Sibula Mohanwe, and I hold a degree in occupational therapy, right? And and these are my experiences in that regard. So the second part, then you kind of then delve or expand on, given my passion of working with people, and given my or you could just say, given my passion of wanting people to perhaps normalize or get back into society, with blah 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 blah, my experiences come with, and then you list those experiences. I see myself fit for this particular position because, and then you list. So those are the things that you didn't want, that you couldn't list in your CV, right? And I've also done this, and I've done that, and I've done this, and I've done that. Many patients of mine have appreciated that. I've also worked with these type, so of course you can't put in your CV, many patients of mine have, so your cover letter kind of motivates why for that. Remember something, it's very post specific. It should be very post specific, and it should talk to what the post actually is advertised for. So again, it's easier if you meet the minimum requirements, but I think it's easiest if you don't even meet the minimum requirements, because then you're able to then motivate easily. That given that I don't, or given that I do not have, or given that I do not match that requirement, please note that blah blah. And managers love that, and they'll call you in for the interview. They will definitely call you in for the interview. Proper. They'll call you in. Yeah. And that's also because, one, they'll be impressed with the fact that you're actually daring in applying, but 2, they'll also be impressed in wanting to see who is this person that actually feels that they can contribute to, and many people, who haven't met, certain minimum requirements have been employed or have gotten employed and have done marvelously well. Why? Again, and we're going to talk about when we talk about interviews, right? EQ, because then they're able to see that in the interview.
Okay.
Yeah.
Last question. I don't know if I'm asking it right though, but then is there actually a difference between a resume and a CV?
No, it's the same thing.
It's the same thing.
Same thing. Basically, yeah. So they both mean summary of my life, or summary of my employment life, or summary of my working life, or summary of my life in kind of totality with regards to So yeah, it's just that same thing. It's dialect. Yeah. Curriculum vitae is British English, right? And then you've got
the British always make
resume.
Everything seem a lot more fancier than it is.
Resume. Resume.
Resume.
Resume, that's American.
Resume?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's American dialect. Yeah, resume. Just give me a resume, please.
My resume is pink, like almonds.
Yeah.
Come out.
What's come out? Yeah, that's.
Okay, guys, so as you heard, my brother has mentioned that we're going to be doing another episode on preparing for an interview and actually going into the interview. Please keep a lookout for that. Yeah, okay guys, please do let me know if you did like this video. Press the thumbs up button below and comment, subscribe. Okay, thanks. Bye.
Bye.